Hey y'all, Happy New Year. Joey Berger, Humboldt local here. I'm going to talk to you today about junk pole fence. We are starting a big junk pole fence project here at Heal Thyself Gardens. What is junk pole fence? Good question. Technique I learned from Paul Wheaton, an amazing permaculture teacher, lives up in Montana. And up in Montana, they have a lot of this pine beetle that has attacked the pine forests up there and killed a lot of these young, thin trees, 6-inch, 8-inch diameter trees. And they actually pay people to go into the forest and thin out these junk poles. They're just dead poles standing in the forest. And they pay them, I think, maybe 25 cents a pole to go in and cut these down and haul them out of the forest. So they have a huge resource there with this junk pole, and they're figuring out a lot of different building projects with it. And one of them is something Paul came up with called junk pole fence, using those junk poles to build a really simple fence using minimal fasteners, so just a handful of screws. So we're going to adapt this process here in Lake County in Northern California at Heal Thyself Gardens. Give you a little view of what it looks like here, little yurt over there in the woods. A lot of cedars and junipers are the main trees here. There's some pepperwood, bay laurel over there as well, and then some smaller scrub brush and manzanita. So here is the lovely goddess garden at Heal Thyself Gardens. It has some deer fence surrounding it, metal deer and rabbit fence, smaller holes on the bottom to keep rabbits out, and 6 feet tall, 6.5 feet tall. In a world where fossil fuels and our costs are rising and metal shortages are getting more common, we need to look to use more of our natural resources. And if you've got land, you need to be using those available on-site resources, and this is where junk pole fencing can come in. So you see these kind of thin trees here. These are some of the trees that we're thinning out. Some of these trees with this, this is about 6-inch diameter at the bottom, and this is actually a tree I will be thinning out to get a bigger parking area here. We'll limit and use it in the construction of this junk pole fence. So this side of the garden we're going to cover with the junk pole fence. It's going to start right here, connect to this gate, go over here. We'll do a little drive-through gate right here. These metal T-posts will get pulled out. Junk pole fence will continue along this side of the greenhouse. This is a little fertility shed there at the end of the greenhouse. There will be another drive-through gate right here and a walk-through gate, and it'll connect to that side of the fence, the corner there. Really just one side of this garden needs a new fence. So starting that project, gonna start digging those holes today, and I wanted to show you guys that before we get started. And then up here, look beyond our the junk area here, the resource area we'll call it, and we get into the fairy garden. This is where the hemp crop will be going next year. And most likely, we have to fence this thing in. We have to put these fences up to keep the deer out. This bottom part of this fence we're planning on doing with the junk pole fence, and maybe doing a workshop around that and get some people out here to teach how to make this junk pole fence. Because this is a road right here, we want to be able to keep the dust down. It's going to be hemp growing in that first hugel right there on the other side of this little rock wall. And so, yeah, we want to be able to knock that fence down, and that's something that a junk pole fence, because it's solid wood, will actually do versus a metal deer fence. All right, that's the beginning of our junk pole fence project. I'm getting ready to dig these holes. I've got my digging bar and my post hole digger over there. Wanted to show you those tools really quick. And I also wanted to show you the T-post puller for the fence posts. for pulling these T-posts out. And this rainy time of year, winter time here in the northern hemisphere, is a good time to take these posts out when the soil's nice and wet. So there's our post hole digger. Here's our digging bar. This is for if I run into rocks or if the soil's really hard, use that. And then this is the T-post puller. And it's kind of hard to show how to use with one hand, but basically you would put it on your T-post like that. This goes around your post. Apply pressure and your post lifts out of the ground. You probably have to drop it down and reset it and lift it 2 or 3 times. That's what it usually takes. I just pulled one of these out of the ground right there and took about 3. So that's the plan. Gonna start digging these holes. First hole is gonna go right about here, and you can see we'll line it up pretty much where those metal T-posts are right now. We'll pull those out, we'll get rid of that little wooden frame that's there, and we'll line these holes up in a straight line. Alright y'all, that's the beginning of our junk pole fence project. Stay tuned as we show you more. Watch this beautiful fence come to life. Protect this beautiful garden this coming year. Much love, y'all. Alright, quick update already. The boss lady came by, the weed witch, and pointed out some really obvious stuff to me. So here's the new plan. Got 3 of these holes dug. That one hit a little water about 2 feet down. It is second week of January. Another one there. We're gonna have a little walk-through fence here. And then I thought that we were gonna do junk pole fence all the way across here just for more of an artistic look, but we're actually gonna just tie it into the greenhouse. So it'll tie in right there. We won't put up fence for this section. T-posts can stay for now as they're actually supporting these wires that supported our shade cloth for our classroom last summer. And then we'll just come off this nutrient shed. I'm going to put a post in right there for a walk-in gate, a 4-foot walk-through gate, and then we'll put a 12-foot drive-through gate right there, and then it'll connect to that far red corner post, that wooden post. So glad the weed witch showed up. She just saved me about 1, 2, 3, or 4 holes. So thank you, sweetheart. And yeah, stay tuned as this junk pole fence comes to life. So our junk pole fence project continues. I'm at another area of Heal Thyself Gardens that's going to come under some development over the next year or 2. This is an area, I'm going to flip this camera around. This is an area that was a former goat shed. These guys got rid of their goats 2 summers ago after having to evacuate a couple times in one summer, and it just got to be too much to have to move these goats every year with all the fire evacuations here in Lake County. So it's a former goat pen. There's chickens over there in the chicken coop that just arrived yesterday. But eventually this whole flat is going to be, this whole hillside is going to be leveled, and a nice flat is going to be put in here. That tree will come down, a bunch of these trees, and eventually a root cellar will go in right here. This is kind of near the main house and this old shop that's going to get tore down, and a big manufacturing facility will go in eventually. So this will have the root cellar next door to it, and maybe some offices over here for the business. So what we're doing is thinning out some trees. There were a couple trees here that had fallen down that I already bucked up. You can see over there the logs I've been bucking up from this area. And yeah, just dropping some more of these because they're all going to come down. And then this area is all going to need to get cleared back. You see it's too close to the existing building. It's going to need to get cleared back all the way up to that little ridge line up there. So all these juniper trees we're going to drop and use in these fencing projects, in these junk pole fence projects. These bigger logs will will be posts that'll go in the ground. And all this smaller manzanita that's mostly dead, it's a successional species here. It's got the red trunks there. You can see most of it's dead because the trees, the junipers, the emergent species surpassed them, and now they don't have the ideal conditions to live, so they're all dead. So those larger pieces we will buck up and use as firewood. There's a yurt down here, a little yurt that we have a kitchen in for the woofers here, and it has a small wood stove, and these little pieces of madrone like this will be perfect size for firewood. And then the rest we're going to build hugels with. This whole hillside will get 2 to 3 hugels built on it, with the rest of this material, all these branches that are going to come down. So this is going to turn into a fun little area, fun little project. I just wanted to show it to you before I start dropping these trees, because this whole area is going to transform. It's going to get all cleared back for fire protection from these buildings, and it's going to generate a lot of resources for these building projects and for these soil building hugel projects. So that's this fun little section, Heal Thyself Gardens, and stay tuned. See where we go with this next. Got my little helper here. So let's see the rocks you got. So we're gonna put the bottom of these rocks in the bottom of this hole. I've got Aurora helping me out here. All right, Aurora. So let's fill this hole, the bottom of this hole, with some of these bigger rocks. Don't just dump it in. Don't dump them all in. Just one at a time. Let's just try to get them all moved. Let's try to get the bottom perfectly covered in rocks so that we don't see any more dirt. And don't knock any dirt in the hole. Watch your little feet. So we want to get rocks all on the bottom of this hole, so that when water gets in this hole, it'll just drain in here. We're actually going to put these poles in, and we're going to put rocks at the bottom, bigger rocks, and then we're going to put this pole in and put gravel all around it. We're not going to backfill it with dirt, because the dirt on the wood will start to rot. This is actually going to have rock all around it, so when moisture does get in here, water, so go get some more rocks. You can get these ones, you can use these ones that are right here. Those bigger ones, yeah. And so I'm gonna just move this around. We want to make a nice little footing here at the bottom, with rocks, some bigger rocks, some bigger, flatter rocks. And so then the water will get in there, it'll just run down, and hopefully these logs will stay drier a lot longer. So there's just some of the gravel we robbed from in front of Tamara's greenhouse, where they dumped a big pile, extra thick. And these are some of the logs that we're going to use as our fence posts for this junk pole fence. I cut them about 8.5 feet. Some are a little longer, but once we get them in the ground, we'll just use the chainsaw to find the right height. Okay, so that's good. That's good for now. Let's go to the next hole over. Go to the next hole over. So we want to try to make sure it's flat on the bottom. So when we put up our post in there, it'll sit nice and flat. So that looks pretty good. So let's fill up this next hole, and then I'm going to get these logs off the truck, and we'll try to get one of these into the hole.
This one?
Yeah, this hole right here. Start filling that hole up.
Water in it,
yeah,
though.
see, this one's got water, standing water in it. So put your rocks in there, and let's make sure we get the rocks up higher than the standing water. That hole's about 24 inches deep, and definitely some water on it. So, all right, thanks for your help, Aurora. All right, I got my little child labor helper here, getting me all the rocks in the hole. While she's filling it, I'm wiggling it a little bit to get the rocks to compact. Just a minute ago I was wiggling it and the rocks were going further and further down into the hole. I've got a breaker bar that I'm going to use to pack these rocks in there, jam them in there really hard once we get this all filled up, and then we'll pack some more gravel in there around this. And we already did that one over there, extra tall. We'll cut it down to whatever height we want. Got beautiful sunset happening over here. But you can see we shaped the dirt to kind of slope away. We filled it all the way up with the rock, and then we covered it back up with the dirt that was there and sloped it so that the water will run away from the log. So I got this one filled up, And I'm gonna go get that breaker bar in a second and tamp this in, and we'll make it look like that other one. Thank you for your help, Aurora.
I'm not done.
Oh, I know you're not done. I'm not done with you yet. We got...
You have to use me a couple more minutes?
Yeah, we got 3 more of these we need to do.
Great.
So we got this pole all done, filled up with rock. And you can see I've actually got rock higher than ground level here, so that it could slope away from the post. And now we're going to cover that up with this soil that came out of the hole. Yeah. Booming sunset right now. All right, we're back on the junk pole fence project. I got derailed for about a week. Seems like longer. I just got the first little section of it up, and I forgot to shoot some video while I was doing it. I'm going to show it to you right now, and then I'll show you the next sections that I'm working on and explain how I assemble it. All right, there's our first section. Had I done it over again, I would have chose the more choice pieces of wood, just because this is the front entrance to this goddess garden. But yeah, pretty simple. We're about to do this next section here. I got these logs cut. It was just over 11 feet. So basically what you can see here, here's a little side view. You got your post standing straight up. You got 2 pieces running along the side, which end up being on the inside of this. So those 2 pieces get screwed in there. This piece and that piece. And then these pieces are screwed on. This one and this one at the end here are screwed on. And then this piece is screwed on the outside. And then these all just slide right in. These poles are all loose in here. They're all just loose, and they just slide right in and are held by those 3 cross pieces. One on the outside, 2 on the inside. This section had 20 screws that went into it. I did two screws into each point that was anchored. And you can see the bottom. That's going to keep a rabbit out. That's going to keep definitely going to keep a deer out. That's the main thing we're trying to keep out here. The deer. There will be some little areas we'll have to plug. We'll stick another piece of wood in there. We could just throw some dirt in there, but this is a great type of fence to build. We're making use of all these trees that we need to thin out. I thinned a bunch out of this area. This is a little parking area over here. Trying to get more fire protection, more defensible space all around this garden. So there's a lot more of these thin junipers that we're actually going to thin out here. So that's the first section of our junk pole fence. I'm going to get these 2 cross pieces up, and then we'll screw in our uppers. Now our 2 cross pieces are screwed on. You can see they went just above the other cross pieces on the other post. I was able to rest them on top of those to screw them on. I'll cut off that top piece where it's a little long there with the little electric chainsaw, making all this really easy. And so then this will get 3 uppers screwed onto this, 3 of the pieces that stand straight up. We'll do a piece in the middle and we'll screw that on, and we'll do a piece at each end and screw those on. And then we'll do our outer piece, our cross piece on the outside, that'll hold all our pieces in. So that'll be our next steps. So now we've got our 3 uprights screwed into place. 1, 2, 3, 2 screws on the top and on the bottom. And now we're going to do 1 more side piece on the outside, just like that one. And then we'll be able to drop our poles in here. Okay, our outer cross piece is on, and I've started putting a few uppers in. So remember, this one's screwed in. These are all loose. These I just set in there. Just slide them right in there. I'm going to go all the way across till these are all filled in. One thing I definitely would have done different is left this cross piece longer so that this cross piece could have sat on it like this is doing, like that is doing at the bottom. That would have just taken a little weight off of it take you around the back side and show you. You can see those cross pieces there are sitting on each other and taking a little bit of that weight off. So alright, that's where we're at so far. I might have to cut a few more logs to get this section filled in, but we're getting there. I think we'll get this little section done today. Alright, we got this section done. All the logs slid in very nicely. Got that last little section to do. So you can see the bottom, it's tight. Certainly no deer getting in here. I would imagine a rabbit finding the right spot could get in, but these corners actually closed up really nice, which I was concerned about the angles, but so far so good. Pretty happy with the this section, but I used some nicer logs, you can see, so stay tuned, we'll get this last piece put together. Alright, this section is all done now. Got all our poles in there, all lined up. Took a couple hours to do this whole section once the posts were in, but I did have to go and cut a lot of these logs while I was building it. So if your posts are all in place and your poles are already here and you're just cutting and screwing up side pieces and supports, this can go up really fast. This is a great type of fence we should all be building with these thin trees. We need to be thinning out of our forests. So that's the start of our intro to junk pole fence. Next section is going to be a gate, and I'll shoot a whole separate video about that. And then we've got this whole section over there on the other end of the garden to do. It's going to get a walk-through gate and a drive-through gate over here off of those posts. Drive-through gate right in the middle, walk-through gate here on the left. So thanks for bearing with me. Start of our junk pole fence project. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I'm pretty excited. We're going to be doing a bunch of this all summer here at Heal Thyself Gardens, and hopefully we'll get a chance to run some workshops here. We can get some of you guys over here to build some of this with us this year. All right, y'all, send me some pictures and videos of your junk pole fence. I want to see how your fences are coming together. Mulch love, y'all.